Welcome to this episode of the Influential Leader series. In the previous episode, we discussed the situational leadership model. Well, in this video, we will discuss something which is on similar lines, but to zoom out and see which top leaders have used what kind of styles to be able to impact their organizations. So let us explore what kind of leaders are there. The first one is the charismatic leader. This leader is the face of the organization. He or she goes out there, represents the organization. Now, what works in this leadership style is that the team is typically motivated because the energy and charisma of the leader often trickles down in large quantities to the team members. In this kind of leadership behavior, there are two threats. Threat number one is that the leader is the face of the organization and hence succession planning might be challenging. And number two is in case the leader fails to exhibit his or her charisma at some place, the rest of the organizational culture might be weak in case things fail. I think an example of the charismatic leader is the Indian Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. The second kind of leader is the innovating leader. These kind of leaders are looking for new challenges to solve. They're always looking at offbeat solutions. What works here is creative team members love to work for these kind of leaders because they know this is one place where new ideas and out-of-the-box thinking is appreciated. What is a threat in this kind of leadership style? That sometimes the leader might go overboard with his or her innovation and out-of-the-box thinking. So sometimes just that spirit of adventure might drive the leader to turn their organization into something that they're not comfortable with and thus increases systemic risk for the whole organization. I think an example is
not just a place to stay.
The founder and CEO of Airbnb, Brian Chesky. Because remember, when Airbnb was starting off and they did not have enough funds, these co-founders came up with an idea of selling cereal with the names of presidents on them so as to raise some funds and get their startup going. The third kind of leader is the command and control leader. As the name suggests, this leader usually governs with an iron rod. They make sure that things happen exactly in the way that they're supposed to happen. What works in this kind of leadership is that urgent situations can be managed very quickly. This form of leadership is also very efficient. However, the threat is that number one, people's creativity does not come through, and number two, if something was to happen to the leader, in that case the rest of the management may not be able to support because they are not used to making the decisions. I think an example that comes to my mind is
quiet.
President Donald Trump in his tenure took a lot of executive decisions without getting political. A lot of executive orders were meant to do what he thought was best. Just the opposite is the laissez-faire style of leadership, in which the leader more or less allows the team to take their independent course. The advantage here is the team's creativity comes through. The team is an owner of their processes, and usually high performers love to work in this kind of teams. What is a threat in this kind of leadership? That in case there is an urgent situation, there is no one person who's in charge, and in that case the organization or that project might come falling apart. I think an example of this kind of leader is
we're putting more and more technology into products which need explaining.
James Dyson, the founder of Dyson Electronics. You see, Dyson as a large corporation which earns billions of dollars in revenue actually has someone else as the CEO, whereas James Dyson spends time just designing new and different kinds of products, so he does not have to take day-to-day decisions of his company and he's able to do what he enjoys most. The other kind of leader is the pace-setting leader. The leader has high standards of performance for themselves. Now, what works here is these organizations are typically high growth, aggressive and competitive organizations which take the market by storm. What is a threat in these kind of organizations is sometimes it might lead to team burnout because there the leader is sweating, the team wants to keep up to those standards, but sometimes they might collapse under that pressure. I think an example for this kind of leader is
It changed the entire music industry.
the founder of Apple, Steve Jobs. The next kind of leader, the situational leader, is fluid depending on the kind of situation that comes to him. What works here, in case there are drastic shifts in the kind of team that is working, a situational leader will be able to very quickly mold himself or herself in order to support what is required. So adaptability is super high. However, what is a threat that might be there in this case is that the team might often be confused because they don't know what the leader is expecting, and they might be a little confused. I think an example is
Good evening, my fellow Americans.
General Eisenhower, who was the commanding officer of the Allied forces in the Second World War. He was really directive when it came to the maneuvers that they had to do in war. On the other hand, he knew where to just be facilitative, which were supporting the Allied powers. The final, and which I believe is one of the most challenging kind of leadership scenarios, is the transformational leader, is where a leader is pursuing a huge idea, but it requires the effective execution of small, minor, and micro tasks. What works is it gets those kind of really motivated people. A threat can be that because it's a large idea, nobody really knows what to do, and the idea is dependent on various small tasks. In case any of these tasks does not go through as planned, the whole project or organization might suffer a big setback. I think an example of this is the social organization Akshaya Patra. Now, this organization serves free food to thousands of children every single day. What they're doing is transformational, to be able to serve hot food to children, and so many of them at the same time. It requires the execution of such small and diligent tasks like making sure that the food is prepared in the right quantity, with the right recipe, and it is delivered to the students in time before they feel hungry in their lunch breaks. So, which kind of leader do you think you are, or what combination of the above leadership styles do you think you are? Let me know in the comments below. If you need me to work with you or your team to help you understand, discover your leadership style and to enhance it, there's an email ID in the description. Send me an email and let us have a conversation. I hope you enjoyed this video. What is something that you want to learn about leadership, or a question that you have for me? Post in the comment section right now and I will take it up.